This is Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 here to talk some College World Series as it involves the Southeastern Conference. And look, we told you guys before the College World Series, this could be one of the better ones we have ever seen. And my goodness, has it been that or what so far? You have had just about every game has been a one-run game. You had a two-run game and a one-run game involving SEC teams on Monday. Let's get to those in order in which they were completed. Let's start with Tennessee and Stanford, and let's set the stage here. Tennessee's Chase Dollander is struggling early and gets kind of an early hook from Coach Tony Vitello with a 4-run deficit, and Chase Burns comes in. Well, where have we seen that before? About a week and a half ago. That's exactly where we've seen that before. Burns comes in, throws 6 innings, is hitting triple digits with the fastball, strikes out 9, and holds Stanford at bay. I believe he only gave up 2 base runners in that entire 6-inning appearance. And then in the meantime, Tennessee's offense did something that Tennessee's offense normally doesn't do. It was string together hits without the benefit of the long ball. In fact, Tennessee had 1 extra base hit in this game. It was Blake Burke, but it was a bunch of singles and walks. I believe it would have been the 5th inning. Yes, that's correct. Tennessee just strung together an inning that seemed like it lasted forever. Christian Moore had the biggest hit in that inning. He had a 2-run single as the Vols come from behind 4-0 to tie it at the end of the inning, get 2 more in the 7th to go ahead for good. And again, Chase Burns just was untouchable, was about as good as I've ever seen him. And boy, we have seen some good outings from Chase Burns, but I'm not sure we had any better that we've seen than what he threw against Stanford on Saturday. For Stanford, Quinn Matthews, boy, Stanford might want to have a do-over on that game against Texas where he threw 156 pitches. He was great early, but I'm guessing maybe around the 70-pitch mark or so, he started to lose it a bit, was not finding the strike zone with the ease at which he had before. He was the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year, a lefty who's been at Stanford seemingly forever. But once it went badly for him, Stanford really couldn't get it back. And Matt Scott, I believe, who was a freshman, came in and gave up 2 runs in a third of an inning in that 7th inning. That was the difference. Again, Burns just was untouchable. Tennessee was not going to lose as long as he could ride it out on the mound. That went for 73 pitches, which for Chase Burns, a 6-inning outing in which he throws 73 pitches that's an A-plus outcome. He gets a little pitch count heavy at times, but he was throwing strikes in this one. And when you throw strikes, even when you're striking out a bunch of guys like he was, you don't need as many pitches. That is exactly what happened. He faced only 20 batters over his 6 innings. The Vols will live to play another day, and they'll play LSU, which lost a wild game to Wake Forest. This one had so many twists and turns, I had to go back and write some stuff down just to remember it. So here we go. You had Ty Floyd, LSU's number 2 pitcher who had been undefeated all year. And I guess is still undefeated because Thatcher Hurd got the loss in this one, was dealing early. He was really, really throwing it against a Wake Forest lineup that could be the best in the country. Apologies to LSU. We can have our arguments there, but it is an elite lineup for sure with dudes from top to bottom. And Floyd is really spinning it pretty well. And you go into what would it have been? The 6th inning, LSU's got a 2-0 lead. And LSU got those 2 runs, a Tommy White single, and then you had a misplay in the outfield. Adam Sasir, their left fielder, was, I guess, wearing sunglasses, not wearing sunglasses, I forget now, but lost the ball in the sun. I think he was wearing them. And just line drive goes over his head. Tre Morgan winds up with a triple. That provides the 2nd run. Josh Hartle settles down, ends up going 6, giving up 2, striking out 9. Hartle as a kid is going to be a first rounder. Just a really, really, really good pitcher. Wake then, in the 6th inning, it was, Floyd starts to, I don't know if I'd say run out of gas. I don't know how you'd describe it. LSU fans, I'm sure, have their own description. But I'll tell you what I saw. It looked like a strike zone at times that varied between the size, maybe a postage stamp and a sheet of paper. A lot of balls on the corners looked like to me from TV weren't being called. I'm not an umpire, but you can kind of tell after you watch thousands of games what the strike zone might be. And let's just say it was not generous. I'm sure LSU fans would not disagree with that. So it just starts coming apart for Floyd. And LSU goes to Thatcher Hurd, who's been erratic in his own right. Not that really Floyd has. I guess he's had some good starts and some bad starts, but more good than bad lately. And the same can be said of Thatcher Hurd. He comes in, has some troubles of his own finding the zone again because it wasn't the biggest zone that I have ever seen. And so Brock Wilkins hits a single to get them within a run. And then he had a double play ball that scored a run. And then Hurd got a big strikeout to get out of that. I think the bases were loaded at that point. So we go into the late innings with LSU and Wake tied at 2. LSU has men on the corners. I think it gets Cam Minacci at that point. Michael Massey had pitched to a couple of hitters, gave up a hit. They're a hyperactive reliever. I believe he's a righty. In any case, Minacci comes in, and he's in a pressure situation. LSU's got runners on the corners. Tre Morgan is at third, and I believe it was Cade Beloso at bat. And Beloso, as Jay Johnson said, he said, I'm not sure he'd hardly hit a ground ball to third all year. Wilkin makes a good play going over into foul territory. It would have been a tough play. I guess he bobbled it for a second, and he had to throw a strike home, which he did. It was a contact play. Morgan went on contact, and depending on your point of view, he was safe or out. The umpire called him out. It was a bang-bang play at the plate, went to review for several minutes, and the call was upheld. That ended up being big because we go to the bottom of the inning tied, and Bennett Lee, Wake's catcher, hits a single. That's the go-ahead run. Minacci shuts the door in the ninth. Wake Forest walks off with a 3-2 win over LSU. Wake is now 54-10 on the year. What a phenomenal team both these teams are. And if you're LSU, this is one of these games now as you're looking ahead to Tennessee on Tuesday, you got to be going, man, what if we had Grant Taylor? What if we had Garrett Edwards? LSU's had several pitchers hurt, and this is where it's really a bad spot to be in because Tennessee's got Drew Beam, who's been outstanding lately, was as good as I've ever seen him look in that game against Southern Miss. So Tennessee definitely has got the pitching edge heading into this elimination game. LSU's lineup, though, I think nobody would dispute is a better lineup, but the Vols have hit enough in the postseason to where, as good as that pitching is, they have been very dangerous. Can't wait to see how this one pans out. Should be another good one and just a series of one great game after another in Omaha. All right, when the SEC teams play, we'll have you covered. Best way to catch that is to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We'll be recapping every time an SEC team has a game in Omaha. Also, moving on to football. We're doing plenty of football content right now, so there might be an appetite for that as well. I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 14. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you again soon with more content from the College World Series.